Hi guys, welcome. We're doing a wonderful chat tonight, another Prairie Circle Chat. So welcome while everyone joins. Today we're talking about regaining confidence and support post-surgery. We have some really great people joining us tonight. Make sure you put your questions in chat. We have Paula here with us and she's taking notes for everything. So if we don't have a chance to answer tonight, we'll make sure that we answer in another chat, or you can reach out to us.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Natasha.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? How is it going?
Awesome.
Good.
So excited about tonight.
Yes,
so we're just having everybody join, giving a few minutes for everybody to jump on.
Awesome. Sounds great. I'm just getting myself together. I have my coffee because it's been a day.
Hello, Kavita.
Hi, how are you?
Awesome.
Hi, Kavita.
Hi, Natasha. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
You too.
We're just giving a couple more minutes for everybody to join and get a chance to put some questions in. Just a minute or two, and then we'll hop in.
Awesome.
I'm excited to talk to the two of you tonight. I'm not going to say stalking your Instagram, but I've been looking through, and getting a sense of who you are, and you're both such talented visual storytellers. I really appreciate that a lot.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Yes, I'm super excited. And this is Natasha and I's first time doing a live together, although we've done a few reels together before.
Yes.
In fact, I saw you in a reel. We met with Mindy Miller in a previous chat, and you are in a video, the two of you with her. So that was fun for me to make a connection and see and know that I would also get to meet you. Yeah. Great. So we'll wait just one more minute, guys. And I see some questions coming in. Again, we'll do our best to answer the questions. And this half hour goes by so fast. It's been amazing. And we've loved all the questions that we're getting after. We have so many wonderful people tuning in. So it's been really great. All right. Oh boy. And we hope that Natasha gets connectivity again really quickly. And as soon as she's back on with this, guys, we'll go ahead and launch. I see questions coming in, which is awesome. All right. Guys, we're just going to give Natasha a moment to rejoin, and then we'll start with our introductions. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start our Prairie Circle Chat. Tonight we're talking about regaining confidence and support post-surgery. And we have our two amazing guests with us tonight. I'll start with introductions with myself, and then we can do a little bit about yourselves. My name is Holly Markwald. I'm the CEO here at PrairieWare, and our Prairie Circle Chat is about supporting our communities. And we really love the opportunity to do that. So tonight we have with us Kavita and Natasha. And if you would like to share a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. So I am Dr. Kavita Jackson. I'm an emergency room physician and a breast cancer survivor from 2020 of triple negative breast cancer. And through the process, I came across life coaching, and I became a certified life coach for anybody experiencing cancer. So our talk today is super relevant to questions we're going to get into as somebody in remission, because there are things that came up during treatment, but much more so into remission when most of us are like totally unprepared, not thinking about a lot of these topics.
Great.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha, and I'm so terrible at introducing myself. Sorry. I am a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in the very end of 2016, like 2 days before 2017. Stage 2. I am an LCSW psychotherapist, and I do outpatient therapy. I have my own practice. And I'm excited to be here this evening and to talk all things about life post and how to regain that confidence, which is a process, but doable.
Great.
And I love coffee, so I'll be drinking my coffee.
I refilled my water and I was prepared.
That's good. Water's good
as
for
well.
you.
Yeah. And I think with that, that's a really nice lead in. There's so many big questions and lots of topics. So tonight, you guys, we're going to cover a few things. If there's more questions, please put them in chat and we'll make sure that we reach out and get everything answered, but it might not happen tonight in tonight's half-hour chat. So I think with that, we're trying to look at where do we want to start. And I think one of the things that I see a continuity in what you both work on is what daily practices can you build into your daily routine to build self-esteem and connection to your new body? And I love kind of starting there because you're both in this place of daily practice and you both coach people, but also you practice that yourselves. And I find that pretty authentic and inspiring. So I thought maybe we could start with that question.
Sure. I'll go first. So one of the things that I'm not always great at it, but I try to remember to do is have constant conversations with myself. Those conversations pre-cancer looked very, very different from what they look like now. Now the conversations tend to be centered around my thinking patterns and then the behaviors that follow those thinking patterns versus one or the other. So I try to practice when I first wake up in the morning. One of the first things that I tell myself is, wow, my feet actually touch the ground. And it reminds me that I'm alive and that at least in that very moment, I'm okay. So it's kind of like this mindfulness exercise. If my feet can feel the ground, I'm alive and I'm okay. And then I kind of just engage in a very light conversation while I'm taking my shower and I'm getting ready to just really enhance the idea that I'm physically breathing, so I don't forget that. Because even though we're all breathing, it's one of those things that I think we forget that we do, right? Because we do it all day long. So just making sure to remind myself of that.
Cool.
I love that because I think informally or somehow I've come to some very similar practices. I think it's kind of what got me through treatment, but into remission for both of us, we've had surgery. So the process of surgery is like this body transformation, which doesn't just end a few weeks after surgery. Like things continue to evolve a few years going forward. And for many of us, it's a big physical change. So a lot of it's been relearning like myself, my physical body, checking in, monitoring different things. I mean, mostly things that have changed post-surgery. For instance, the biggest thing for me, like lack of sensation to a lot of areas. So it's actually a like mental for me, mental and physical check-in of different body parts, either starting from head to toe or like toe to head. And I have a lot of mirrors in my house, which I always have. It's not so much a vain, but like a physically check myself.
I actually really like that.
Yeah, and it's these ongoing conversations, which you mentioned too. I don't often do them out loud, but it's in my head of like, oh, here's this is how it feels, this is how it looks. And I think that really pulls me into the present, and just being mindful of what is, and then so noticing when things change as well.
Great. And I like that feeling of connection that practice brings, where sometimes we can become so disconnected in our days because we are so busy and you forget to check in, you forget that you have your breath coming in and out every moment. And those little moments to reconnect can also give a lot of calm in storms, which I appreciate. So when we have these daily practices, I think it also gives us strength and resilience as different parts of our day unfold. So I love that daily practice idea. I also noticed that both of you are very, very active. So I feel like that's also a part of your daily practice, not just in your work and with children, but also you're physically active.
Yeah, I definitely could do a lot better as of late. I'm not as active as I used to be. But yes, being physically active, I think that's probably one of the main things that supported my mental stability throughout cancer as well as life post-cancer. Because when you work out, you get that kind of invigorating feeling like you're on top of the world, right? So it's that I don't want to go to the gym, but when you leave the gym, you're like, whew, I can't wait to do that again tomorrow, kind of thing. So staying physically active, keeping yourself appropriately busy, right? Not to the point where you're making yourself sick, but with lots of activities that you enjoy, it constantly gives you something to look forward to. And again, by the end of the day, I'm like, whoa, I'm still here. I'm still alive. My feet are touching the ground. I just made it through another day. Let's see if I can do this again tomorrow.
I do think it's a big component of self-care. And at least when I had cancer, I had stopped working. It happened to be the pandemic, so like nobody's leaving their homes. And my main focus went from like work, kids, family, to cancer and just cancer. And that was it. Nothing else was going on. So to be able to be physically active again, whether, you know, like you said, it's working or exercising or just being out socializing, it's nice as establishing a new normal that's not just all related to breast cancer, right? It's like there's this whole lifestyle that we live with and around or after or however that exists. So I think that's really nice to have that focus and just back to everything else that there is in life.
Right. Yeah. And I noticed one of the things that in transitioning back into everyday life, and I saw actually your Instagram, Kavita, that sort of that somebody's watching me sound in terms of you get through diagnosis and then you think about, I don't want to put words into what you were trying to say, but it was poignant to me in that there's always that time where you think about things in a different way. And so where I was going with the daily practice and activity is it gives you that baseline to kind of keep moving forward, know how your body feels, and have that confidence moving forward. And that's what we were talking about in this chat is what are those pieces that kind of give us that resilience and stability moving forward mentally.
Yeah, of course. So going into remission, one of the common things that came up for me, which I think for many people, is the recurrence, like, you know, the fact that it could come back. And it's, once again, something I think we're not prepared for at all. Medical treatment ends and you kind of like graduate. And it's like, okay, great, see ya. And it's just like, wait, what? You've just been like dropped, you know, out of treatment and just back into real life. And it's so disorienting. And then, you know, I like got this gnawing feeling, which is a lot better now, but this persistent, like, well, what if it comes back? How do I know? You go through this whole series of questions. What am I supposed to be doing? What should I be eating? How should I be exercising? Yada, yada, you know. But part of the daily practice for me became kind of having my own process of how to go through those questions. And again, ground myself and be at a functional level, because it's not sustainable to live in that constant sense of fear. And again, not be able to enjoy all of that, you know, all of that life has to offer, and understanding where my control is, where it's not. But then I'm not going to live in fear that way. So actually, this Mindy Miller, I think this was a week or two ago, had posted something about she remembered the first day she forgot she had had cancer, or that she ever had it. And I distinctly remember it because I was just carelessly, you know, moving through life, enjoying, and then it's like that thought popped in. But it was more exciting for me that I forgot, you know?
Yeah, that's so, just to piggyback off of that, that's such an amazing feeling. You don't realize it until you do have that aha moment. Oh my gosh, I didn't just spend the last 6 hours thinking about, you know, if that ache in my left toe, you know, means something, you know, something else. But I like that you brought that up, Dr. Kavita, because that fear of recurrence can be so debilitating. And, you know, I think it's safe to say for most of us, no one talks about that throughout the actual treatment process. And it really does feel like abandonment, right? You're seeing your doctors multiple times a week, a variety of doctors, and then, yeah, they tell you, go live your life. Hopefully it doesn't come back. Be great. You know, maybe we'll check in with you every so often, whatever that looks like. And you're just like, wait a minute. It almost feels like your babysitter doesn't want to come back. you know, and they're leaving you alone. So those daily practices really help with, yes, checking in with yourself. But I would also suggest that it helps with actually helping you to practice how to express yourself when someone asks you as well, where you are, what you're feeling, because we feel a whole lot of things. And sometimes we don't know what they are. And sometimes we do, but we just don't feel like talking about it. So checking in with ourselves helps us to practice solidifying what we're feeling and then being able to express it when we feel safe to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's emotional and physical.
Right.
So one of the things in our previous chats that came up is when you have that pain somewhere in your body or it reoccurs more than once, and there's a lot of fear surrounding that. It could be maybe you exercised a little bit too much or you wouldn't have thought of that previous diagnosis, but really now it's this pain and you're not sure what it is. And our expert on that was a PT, Kelly Sturm, and she said, so make sure you ask, because it's important to find out what's something is, and so that you don't have that fear. And I thought that was really a good point. And part of even knowing to ask is knowing what it feels like. And I think that check-in is so important, because it could also be maybe you have an old mattress and you wake up every morning, really seriously, and you wake up every morning with maybe a sore shoulder and you don't realize. And so there's things like that that are very normal, and there may be something that isn't. And so just kind of making sure that you're checking in with yourself is so important on a lot of levels.
And I agree with Natasha that being able to communicate it to other people, because again, it's not something really taught at all in this process, but it's like having that internal check-in process. And then what I've also found helpful is like those around us, right? So whether that's like the Instagram community, which is something I never knew existed and it's been amazing, or just having a really good healthcare team, like physicians and, you know, your providers that can be accessible. It's nice to know, like, I'm not the only one that feels this way, right? We all kind of have this sense, and we can kind of share, like, oh, I like the phantom pain. That's something we've all experienced, and we all get the fear that happens with that. And to kind of share that weight, I think it's nice to have a support community.
For sure.
This is a pretty great community.
It is. And I'm with you, Dr. Kavita. I think I had just joined Instagram like that summer before my diagnosis. And I was like, yeah, sure. But then at that point, I was like, okay, I need to look for other people who have been through this, because no one around me had been through it. No one that I knew personally or who was willing to open up about it. So it honestly became my safe haven, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Wow. I don't know how to even go to a transition point, because that's really beautiful. And I think what you're bringing up is just that awareness that sometimes things happen in life that bring us to a different place that you never expected. And it can be really beautiful, but the road can be pretty rough. So,
For sure.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I was reading in what you guys had been talking about is, and we've talked about this, but specific to what emotions and challenges face you post-surgically, because often for a lot of people, it's not just one surgery, it's maybe more than one, and then there's treatment in and amongst that. So it feels like that's quite a journey as well. And I know that's something that both of you have spoken a lot about.
Emotions connected to surgeries. I think for me, the two main were feelings of numbness and feeling in many ways disconnected from my body. I remember when I had my bilateral mastectomy, because I ended up having an infection 6 days later. I had to go back in for like another 4 hours and then come back out. I remember not looking even when they told me that I could, because I was so convinced that I was going to look and feel deformed. And then when I did look, I felt deformed. Like I felt like I couldn't wear certain things anymore. And I had to come to grips with, I do look different because my chest is different. And that's just a reality. And accepting that it can coexist, that this, this difference I now have to live with, some days will feel great. Some days will feel confusing. Some days may feel, terrible. And I intentionally at one point, I disconnected. I didn't look at my scars, tried my best not to think about them. And I think part of it was because if I did that, maybe I'd start judging myself. And if I start judging myself, I'd be convinced that other people were judging me as well. I just knew that the person across the room in a restaurant could tell that this breast was so much smaller than the other, when in reality, they can't. They're not looking at me that closely, but having to just navigate that.
Yeah, there definitely feels a spectrum, like you said. Some days feeling better about it or more understanding in one regard, other days confused. And the confusion piece feels almost like first of all, it's this whole process and reconstruction / cosmetic, right? But more reconstruction than it is cosmetic surgery that we didn't ask for. So it feels very different than I wanted this modification that I pursued and I picked out and I'm going forward with it. It's just kind of this thing that's laid on your lap. But then afterwards, I kind of struggled between the two of being grateful that I don't have cancer and that I have survived. And then also like, okay, well, this is my body now. I love it, right? But like there's just things change and there's so much you don't have control over that falls into your lap. So I definitely am still on that spectrum of I don't want to feel guilty that I don't look a certain way because I should be grateful. But I think both are valid. Like there's really no wrong emotion or feeling about it. Both are valid and it can be dynamic. Like I don't stay on one end. I'm kind of back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And then the next phase of that is, how do you move on from that journey, or so post-surgically or treatment and back into everyday life? And guys, what you're not seeing, these guys did work on some questions and I took them out of order, and because I was really interested in certain things. So I'm kind of circling back around to take us through all of this information. But what is that next phase, that next journey?
So for me, I have come to the conclusion that there is no moving on, but there is accepting. The way that I conceptualize the idea of moving on is accepting something and then letting it go. But where I currently am, 5 years in remission, I haven't let it go yet. I've accepted that it's affected my life. I accept that these scars are a part of my life and it's a part of my story. But it's still very much enmeshed within me. And if I'm to, at least for me speaking, for myself, if I'm to let it go, that's like me saying or feeling like I don't notice it anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. I don't see it anymore. When all of those things I do see it. It still does bother me every so often, nowhere near as frequently, but it does. And it's very vivid. It's very real. So I tell myself that if there's no moving on, there's accepting it. And really more so what I monitor is the frequency in which I'm thinking about it, the severity and the duration of how long I spend on thinking about it. That's what assists me with, okay, am I making progress on this journey? Am I challenging myself to accept what has happened to me and that, my body and life does look different.
Mm-hmm. I do think I like that they're not really moving on from it, and it is a truth. So I think similarly for me, it's accepting, acknowledging, I see you. It is very much within me and a part of me, but it's not me, So it's like, all right, I see you. As my life coach who I trained with, it's like certain emotions that we feel. It's like, all right, I see you. I carry you like a purse, just like you do a purse, and I keep walking. Just like kind of tuck it back into my purse. And what Natasha said, I don't like formally track my frequency of these thoughts and stuff, but I've definitely noticed it's much less. And when I feel like kind of spike up, I kind of go through my checklist. throw my purse in my bag, and I'm like, all right, cool, like we're going. I'm carrying you, and we are moving forward at least.
Awesome. And I just looked at the time. It's 5 minutes left
It goes by so quickly
chat,
when you're having
which
fun.
always is amazing to me. And we didn't get to any questions at all, and which is okay, because I think what I heard and what I'm so thankful that you had the chance to share is just that awareness and acceptance of where you're at. And it's so important for anyone at any point in their lives and on their journey. I'm glad that you got to share that with everybody. And what is something that we'd like to leave with everybody tonight? What's something that you wanted to make sure that you could share with our circle today? I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I can go first. So I think most of this talk, we've talked about some of the emotions we struggle with in remission, but for the most part, we both seem to have a relatively good balance, and we're working towards a good balance with it. So I think harder actually was during treatment and getting through treatment, just the range of emotions that you are hit with that I think we're not taught to or equipped to or encouraged to handle because we kind of shun them away. And although difficult, I think feeling valid and that is the truth and that is real and not running away from those really help to process them and better carry and move through those emotions and thoughts. So I wouldn't hide or run away from them. That at least was a process for me, I think, than kind of ignoring the denial, which I did go through first, but really validating and then having grace for yourself to just have that experience.
Awesome.
I love that. I completely concur what Dr. Kavita said. I'm very big on acknowledgement of emotions. As a therapist, that's something that I, do work on a lot with my clients, is the duality of emotions, and that it doesn't have to be black or white thinking. It doesn't have to be happy or sad, because the reality is the entire world is gray, and so so is our humanness and our experiences. So if I am frustrated today, I can be frustrated and happy, for various reasons. And so one of the things that I have, come to, I think I do fairly well with, and I would love to leave everyone with, is very similar to what Dr. Kavita is saying, which is acknowledge. Because when we hide our emotions, or like I like to say, pretend like they don't exist, they will pay you a visit anyway. Those emotions are going to come knocking. They're going to sit on that couch, right? And they're going to watch Netflix with you because they're that real. So acknowledge them, have a conversation with them. Don't pretend like they're not there, because when you do that, one of the things that I think is very real to acknowledge as well is the rest of the world will do that too. And there's that weird dichotomy of, kind of like you were saying earlier, Dr. Kavita, go on, be great. The rest of the world moves on after you're done with your active treatment. And so when you start to hide or pretend like you're not experiencing certain things, it becomes really difficult for even your support system to take a moment and stand in it with you, because you're not standing in it. So acknowledge it, know that it's real. Don't spend too much time there, but acknowledge that it's real.
And I think emotions are also our friends. They're to know that they're transient. They don't have to be there forever and ever. I love that they can coexist as well. And when we don't acknowledge emotions, they can stay and become bigger and bigger and bigger. Whereas really they're there to let us know to pay attention to something, I think.
Yeah.
And then by doing that, you can also move into a different emotion or not carry that, which I think is really valuable. Thanks for bringing that up, guys. Yeah,
I like that. Emotions are our friends.
It's even now, just learning and writing down. For me, it's writing down 3 emotions that I felt in the day, right? Just random. It can be small things or something large, but when did I feel something really emotional? And it's amazing what you can learn about yourself by just acknowledging those moments of emotion, and also being able to move through them as opposed to just carrying them. And I think often we think being stoic and invulnerable is easier or conveys power. And really, I think we're more strong when we're able to share those emotions. So, yeah.
It takes a lot of energy to be stoic.
It does. I mean, it can be exhausting. So I think, validating those emotions, but even just feeling comfortable, like it's okay to do so, and losing the judgment around some of the less acceptable or the, I get the good vibes only, but I'm just not on that bus. It's just not realistic to me. And then I think it perpetrates this message of judgment towards anything that's not good vibes.
Yeah. And if I can just, add that too, I remember having a conversation once with someone. I think that's so important. What works for every individual is going to look and feel and even taste differently. And there are some individuals who are just on a different part of the spectrum on their healing journey after their cancer diagnosis. And some people really, they're just not thinking about cancer that frequently. And so even sometimes I have to recognize that I think what I'm essentially trying to say is that there are some individuals who, because they may appear extremely happy, maybe parts of the community feel like they're faking it, right? Or like they're not being true to themselves because they're not tapping into the fear and the concerns. But maybe they've just done a different type of work, right? Or they've been doing work a little bit longer than you and I have. And so just remembering not to judge someone who seems a lot more happier, quote unquote, or pleasant, and not to judge someone who's like, every single day I'm scared, because it's all a spectrum. And our individual experiences, it's just like trauma. It's not the trauma, it's how you respond to it that matters.
Yeah.
So not a direction I thought we were going to take. And I'm so thankful that we did, because I love that it's also been a personal journey of mine as of this year, of just really identifying emotion and how that affects my physical wellness as well. And so I love how that came together. And thank you so much for your candidness and authenticity tonight with us. And our circle here, guys, is to just create communities of support and education. And that's why we all came together here at Prairie Wear. And I'm so thankful that you guys could be here with us tonight. And we will take questions and get them answered on Insta for everybody. And certainly reach out to us at yoursupport@prairiewear.com with any other questions that you may have. Awesome. And thank you so much for your time tonight, you guys. I so appreciate it. It was such an honor. And you both look amazing in your huggers. I have to say that. I have to say it. Like, aerial yoga, what? And the flower crown, probably one of my favorite all times. I was like, can we put it on our homepage? Because it's so pretty. I just loved it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yes. Have a great night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Nice to see you, Holly. Nice to see you, Natasha.
You
Good
too.
night.
Bye.
Good night.